Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, Mike Bennett, joined by the one and only. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, first time, long time.
We get to have you rather than the CEO. We love it though. We love getting to see the leadership here at the Advisor's Guide to Estate Planning podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, never better. You know me. I love talking about this stuff.
It's your bread and butter. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today and talk to our special guest. We have Yohance Harrison joining us. I'm going to introduce Yohance. If you haven't heard of him, he is amazing. He has dedicated most of his life to empowering those around him to take charge of their financial future. He began his financial services career over 20 years ago and now finds himself living his passion as the founder and CEO of MoneyScript Wealth Management. MoneyScript Wealth Management specializes in helping healthcare professionals take charge of their financial world, debt and wealth management, education, retirement, and protection planning. Welcome, Yohance. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good to be here. Good to be
Awesome.
here.
I love to open these up just by breaking the ice, making you feel comfortable, get the flow of the conversation going. So I have an icebreaker question for you if you're open to it.
Let's break the ice. Let's do it.
All right. So, death penalty, pro or con? Sorry.
Death penalty, pro or con. So it's funny you should ask because
Oh,
I
gosh.
recently I had a surgery about a week ago, so I
Yeah.
was out of work for a little while, and I was catching up on all my Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff, and
Mhm.
I started watching Shogun.
Shogun. I
Um,
haven't seen that yet.
So Shogun is a remake of the old 60s Shogun Assassin, which was too gruesome for TV, but it's a story, a Japanese story of how a British or Portuguese man, I think, gets entrenched into this Japanese culture while these different, sects are battling against each other in Japan. And this is, I can't think of what century it was, but they someone was given the death penalty for removing a bird that was being cured. He had hung a bird to cure, and it was
Mhm.
rotting because he's Portuguese versus Japanese. And he said if anyone touches it, they die. And someone touched it and removed it because it was smelling bad. And the way they killed people was either to burn them alive, boil them alive, or chop off their head.
Stop it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So I was thinking a lot to myself. I was like, I mean, the death penalty now is not that bad. You're not going to get the
Wow.
death penalty. I mean, not to give away too much. If you know Shogun's Assassin, you know the story, but they have this thing called seppuku or septeptu. I can't think of the word, but y'all can put it in show notes later. Where if you disgrace yourself, you have to end your line of succession. And so there was a character that has to end his line of succession, which means to take his own life and his child's life.
Oh,
So
wow.
it had me thinking about the death penalty. Like I said, fun
Yeah.
you should ask.
Wow.
It had me
Yeah. It is
thinking
funny. I
about
should
death
have.
penalty, and I was
Wow.
like, our death penalty these days is nothing. But
Mhm.
in all honesty, though, my brother-in-law was brutally murdered about 4 years ago now,
Oh my God. I'm so
and
sorry.
his killer was recently apprehended.
Wow.
And this was in California, where there's not a capital punishment currently, I believe.
Hmm.
Correct.
Hmm.
Um, and But as the family, that's something that we've kind of thought about because right now, Capital One murder charge, he's looking at, life without parole. But when I think about the cost of keeping this person alive and can they be, you know, healed, redeemed, whatever. Yes, I was thinking a lot about the death penalty
Hmm.
um,
Wow.
over the
It's,
last
Errol, you
few
had no
years.
idea how that was
I
going to
had
hit.
Yeah,
no
you had
idea.
no idea. That
I
was
had
yeah.
no idea. No,
This is,
So I was
I
thinking
have
about
wow.
this
yet to
gentleman,
stop.
and I was like, you know what? If this had been Japan, you just bring him over to the house, and I grab my
Man,
sword and like, all right,
Yeah.
I
See you
mean,
head
later.
for a head, let's
yeah.
go.
And
So
Wow.
I've yet to stump a single advisor with. I do uncomfortable questions for these icebreaker questions. I've yet to stump anyone. Everyone's like, "Yeah, great question," and it has a great answer.
well,
She's
you're
done it to
also
me as
talking to a
well.
pod. Yeah,
I
you're
did
talking
do
to
it
a
too.
podcaster. So I kind of,
Yeah.
I know
I
but
yeah,
I tried to get you, Johannes, but
that was
you
a
were
good one.
too good. You're too good for me. Well, let's dive in. Let's start off by talking about your process. I love to hear your estate planning process with your clients. If you're willing to and openly sharing that with us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about this here. I've talked about this on several stages across the country. Um, so my process is I am what's known as a comprehensive financial planner. So I lead into all conversations with let's do a complete financial plan. And when we talk about a complete financial plan, I break it into categories of current cash and income, liabilities, who do you owe, the assets that you have, so property, investments, etc., taxation, how you pay taxes, what tax rate you're in, things of that nature. And then the final category is estate planning. And I just simply say to clients, it's like, we can do a great job of doing a lot of work for planning for while you're here, but how do we plan for the certainty of uncertainty? And being that I mentioned, I just went through a surgery recently. I had a thyroidectomy. But as I was going through the process of what's wrong with my thyroid, what do they call them? Not cysts. Well, they're cysts, but they call them something like
Polyps.
nodules that I
Oh,
have. Yeah. What are
mhm.
these nodules? And, are they cancerous? Are they non-cancerous? And it turns out mine were indeterminate, which was so it's kind of a wait and see. And I was like, yeah, I'm not for that. But what's just to kind of speak of my own personal process, and this, of course, is being injected. I sent out a video to all my clients right before the surgery, and in the video, I shared with them that um, when after I got my ultrasound, and they said there were nodules there, and they
Mhm.
said that some of the nodules were solid, and solid is the ones you don't want. The fluid ones can sometimes go away on their own, usually not bothersome unless it's causing problems with speech, breathing, etc. But I had some that had become hardened, calcified.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that have concern for could it be something worse. And so after my biopsy, my wife took me to the biopsy. After my biopsy, we went out to eat. I love pizza. Pizza is my favorite food group. So we go out to one of those make your own pizza places, and we're having our pizza. And I looked at her and I said, what's a big relief about this whole process is that money is not on the list of concerns.
Mhm.
The financial concerns of what if I become disabled, what if I'm not going to be here anymore, what if I and this is before I had the results of the biopsy, so I didn't know what I didn't know. What if this is bad, what if what if I can't work in some capacity, what if this cost us 20, 30, $40,000. That was way down the list because I have disability insurance, I have life insurance, we have a trust, I have a will, I have power attorney, I have medical directives. And that was something that they asked also on the surgery. Do you have a directive physician? It's like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's right here. So
Makes you feel like such a grown up.
it did,
Yes.
but it was an incredible relief to know that I practice what I preach, and all of those items are already checked off, so that while I'm waiting on these results, not knowing how good or bad they could be,
Mhm.
of course hoping for the best, we didn't have to think about the financial what ifs because we knew that we had all those boxes checked, which allowed us to just focus on time with each other, time with family, focusing on my health, coming up with a plan, a strategy around the business, et cetera, for whatever time I might be out. Especially once I had the results, I knew, okay, ultimately I'm going to have to take some time off and have surgery. It was a huge relief to not have to deal with those other worries, or which I dealt with in the past, having to rush to go get a bunch of documents done just in case, and you're hoping hopefully nothing goes wrong. But I've known people or things go wrong in surgery. I'm a huge fan of not John Stewart, the other John, the British guy. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
yeah.
watch it every week. So HBO, I watch it every week. And of course, the week before my surgery, he does a whole thing on when things go wrong in surgery. I was like, oh, come on, I can't watch this week's episode.
That's
But I go back and watch it afterwards, and they were talking about people that, oops, died on the operating table. And it's like, and go in for what's considered a routine surgery and you don't make it out. So that's why it's important to have those things in place. Because I was fortunate, unlike someone like my father, who, his appendix burst and had to be rushed to the hospital to get an appendix removed.
Mhm.
Mine was planned. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have the surgery on Tuesday at this time, et cetera. But a lot of times things happen to people where they're with us one moment, next moment they're on the operating table. And if the documents aren't already done, it's too late. So,
Mm,
so yeah, I
Yeah.
yeah.
definitely inject it into the conversation. I know it's a long answer. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this stuff.
No, and we love that. I mean, that's why you're one of our favorite advisors. There's two things that you said. There's number one, that you were able to focus on your health at that time, and I love hearing that. The other thing you alluded to, but you didn't quite say it. I love it how you used a personal example to go to your clients with something like this. How else do you use personal examples like in your everyday estate planning that you do with your clients?
So before I had this personal example, the personal example that I used are several. So both my parents have passed on, and I had to help care for my parents and had to pay for their funerals.
Wow.
So that also creates and my parents didn't have a lot of assets, so we didn't have a lot of estate to have to plan for. And
Yeah.
um, but for my father, we had to make the decision, and there's 8 of us, of the pull the plug, don't pull the plug.
Mm,
And there was no document in
hard.
place, but the doctor was saying to us, hey, these are the names that I have written down. It was myself and 3 of my sisters. Whatever you all decide, that's what we're going to do, because this isn't, he can't continue in this state.
Mm,
And so we had to make that decision, and we had to make the decision that we think my father wanted. Okay. My wife's grandfather, he had his aortic valve. No, whichever one takes the blood back down, who takes the blood to your feet.
I do
I
estate
oh,
apologize.
planning. I
yeah.
don't I don't do I don't do cardiology.
I don't know.
His heart burst. I'll just put it that way. So
Okay.
Oh,
his heart
wow.
burst
Oh, wow.
on a trip to Vegas to go gambling. He was retired, golfed all the time. And as far as we're concerned, a fairly healthy individual. We didn't know a lot about his health history. For sure, there's probably some blood pressure, cholesterol, those sort of
Sure.
things. But he was on one of those trips and he passes out. And so they rush him to the hospital, and he never wakes up.
Mm,
And his wife had passed away about 3 years prior, 4 years prior, sometime prior to that. And I had sat down with him, and back then we didn't have companies like EncorEstate Planning. I had partnered with an attorney, and this was the attorney I was using, but it was a long, arduous process that no one enjoyed doing. And it was always this packet here, fill this out, give it back to this, person that you don't know, you don't really have a relationship with, and then they're going to give you all your documents. And just no one there to help them through the questions, no frequent FAQs to go along with it, that sort of thing. And so he and his wife had filled it all out. She passed away suddenly. And so
wow.
I had go back to the attorney and said, okay, wife's already gone. Here's the house. Here's what we got. And so she gets a new packet, doesn't transfer the information that he already filled out, gives him a brand new packet and says, okay, do it all over again, just you. After he passed away, we are cleaning out his house, and I go to his desk in his bedroom, and that paperwork was right there on his desk,
No.
completely filled out, except for a post-it note on one part where he just put question marks. Don't know what the question was, but he just put question marks.
You're kidding.
And this was in California. The estate was worth over whatever the limit was that year, 135,000 or something, whatever it was. And they were in probate for 6 or 7 years, and it cost almost 20, 30,000. It cost a lot of money.
No.
And who paid that money? We did. Me and
The
my
heirs
wife.
did. Yeah.
We did. Not my mother-in-law, because she didn't have access to his money yet.
Oh gosh, that's
And she
right.
didn't
Yeah.
have a lot. So we had to pay it all. And then she basically paid us back once the estate finally settled.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So yeah, so I have the personal stories, and then I have
Yeah.
them with clients. So I mentioned the whole filling out last minute. One of my first clients, I was in the hospital with her in her dying days with an attorney that we paid almost $10,000 to do her trust last minute.
Mm,
And had we not got the trust done, it would have cost the estate a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars we were able to preserve because of the size of our estate by getting it done.
Well,
And
and that's so
we,
huge. I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say we signed it in February. She passed in March,
oh, wow.
and I
Yeah.
said I'm not. I said I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not.
Yeah. Oh
As a
man,
matter
yeah,
of fact,
because
my doctor practiced out of that hospital, and I said, "Can we go to a different hospital? I don't, I can't. I don't like this hospital."
No.
wow. Yeah, because
And
clients want to maximize what's going to their individual beneficiaries or charitable beneficiaries. They want to minimize what goes to taxes and what goes to attorneys and accountants and other professionals. So, yeah, that's a great story.
and these stories are so typical, unfortunately, in the planning realm. The issue is that a lot of these clients, they don't know where to go. They go to attorneys and they drag it out. They think, oh, well, I'll get it done. And then you find the half completed documents on their bedside table, you know.
Yeah.
But, as a financial advisor who actually does do this fiduciary duty, what would you say to other financial advisors who aren't?
Well, first of all, of course, we have the two different camps of financial advisors: those that are fiduciaries and those that aren't. So
Mm.
first, let me speak to those that are. Um, you are not upholding your fiduciary capacity if you're not addressing it. And when I say addressing it, to the point of where I have done with clients, either you do this or you find another advisor.
Mm.
I don't care whether it's a multi-million-dollar account or whatever their financial planning fee is, because one, you're not going to keep the assets. You're not. Those assets are going to go out the door. They're going to be tied up in probate, what have you. You're not going to. So there's no long-term planning there for you as a business owner. You are putting the client's interest first, but guess what? In this case, what's in the best interest of the client is also in the best interest of your business. So if you are truly wearing your fiduciary hat, you were telling the client, this is what's in your best interest. And I tell clients, here's a DIY method. I have a partner that can help us do it. And I'll help you along the way to get the documents done. There is the DIY on your own. Sure, you can go to, I won't name all the competitors out there, but they're out there. Just Google, I want to do a will of trust. There's a bunch of them out there, and you can DIY yourself, but you're going to be talking to probably an AI bot to get your questions answered. And you're not going to have the accountability, because that's my role, is to hold you accountable from start to finish. Or you can go hire an attorney. At the end of the day, I I don't care which route you go. I do care that you get it done.
Yep.
What's it going to be? And I've had a dozens of clients that actually, I spoke with one today. She said, "You're right. I'm not going to work." It was her friend's an attorney. Her friend was like, "Oh, I'll do it for you." It's been 7 months. It's not done. She's like, "You're right.
All too
Let me
familiar.
just go ahead. Let's
Yeah.
just do it your way." I was like, "Great,
Story as old as time. Yeah.
great. Let's just do it my way." So now, to the advisors that don't have the fiduciary capacity, first, I would say, even if you're not a fiduciary, there's no reason why you can't act like one. Okay. And we are here to help improve the lives of our clients first. Estate planning is a part of that, especially if they live in a state that's over the probate levels,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they have children, especially if they have spouses and ex-spouses. And yeah, are there a few out there where it's like, okay, something happens to you and then everything's just going to go to whoever gets it and they just don't care and don't have any, fine. But still, that's also assuming that they go like that. What if they're still here and someone has to make financial decisions? So, and I got stories like that too. I got stories for days. So yeah, so the message is that what was it? There was a saying goes that was it Ben Franklin that he talked about the certainty of death and taxes?
Yeah. I think you're right. Think so.
I mean, Google says that's who it was. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It must be true.
Yeah. The certainty is that you will pay taxes to live in this America and to live in these United States. You will pay taxes in some form. Sales tax, auto tax, federal tax, state tax, local tax. You're going to pay some taxes. That's just part of being American, taxes. And one day you will die.
Mm. It's
Well, on
inevitable.
that note, no.
And death and
No.
taxes. This is what we do.
No, it's what pays the bills. And but at the same time, with estate planning, we don't get to control when we die, but we do get to control some of these things, like when our heirs get it, how they get it, all those different types of things. When you're going through this with clients, what do you find are the stumbling blocks or like the hardest decisions for them to make when you're going through the
Oh,
estate planning process?
by all means, the hardest is clients with multiple children. That is always the hardest part. How do I divide things up? Who do I put in charge? I don't want to leave this kid out, or, this kid is irresponsible, or this one's more responsible. That is usually where most of them, or the clients that have kids, that's where most of them get stuck, especially if there's
Okay.
multiple children. And to them, I just tell them, I'm like, that we're not writing this in concrete. This is a piece of paper and some ink and, a notary. If you decide you want to change it, we just had our assistant, she just her father, I mean, I think he did his estate plan maybe a year ago, if
Hmm.
that. And he said, I've been thinking about it. I put the wrong names in the wrong places. It's like, I don't want to make too big of a deal of this, but I'd really like to change. It's like, easy. I said, the hardest part is for you to go find a notary. That's it. So
Right.
really, that's it. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, it's gonna
Yeah.
cost you a couple $100, but yeah, really, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but
set in
see, in
sand.
his mind, he thought he had to do the whole thing all over again. I was like, no, we're just moving some names around.
I love it.
Let,
I love it.
let,
Yeah. The
let me send
saying
Mike
I
an
always
email.
use is set in sand, not set in stone until you're
Yeah.
dead or
There you go.
incapacitated.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So that's probably the hardest for my parents, or that should be for the clients that are parents. For other clients, the one that where people tend to get stuck and they get back to us is when they choose to give the medical, question, get the medical questionnaire, and just a lot of them are unfamiliar with some of those terms, the different types of incapacitation, et cetera. And so they usually have to take a little while to read up on that and, phone a friend and things
Yeah.
of that nature. So we do have quite a few people that get stuck there. However, a lot of our clients are in the healthcare profession and they fly right through it. the
Mhm.
ones that know, they're like, oh yeah. Yeah, or they'll start answering for their spouse. Yeah, he doesn't want that. He wants this. He wants that. And I'm like, no, let them answer for themselves. He doesn't know anything about this. I'm like, but it's still his body. He gets to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, what I've found, and I think I've shared this before, Mike, you probably know the number better than me. I mean, we've done over 100 estate plans in the last, call it 18 months, probably. So in that range. You probably
It's
actually
right
more
around
than
there. Yeah.
right around there. Yeah.
No,
So
it's the fact that everybody in our firm knows your name tells you that you've done a lot of plans with us. So
well, no, the fact
that's
that I'll tell people about Encore, they'll go to the website and then they see my face on it. They're like, oh
Your
wait,
face
oh
is
yeah,
on
that
that's
it.
you,
too.
isn't it? I was like, yeah, that was me. I didn't have hair then though, so we got to update
It's
that photo. By the way.
our golden child. Yeah.
But that goes to show that we are having these conversations. And the other thing that I've been sharing with a lot of other advisors is it becomes a referral generator.
Mhm. Yes, it
So
does.
just today I was talking with another client about her estate plan, and one of her questions was, she was like, well, how does my brother know that this exists? I was like, funny you should ask that question. We'll tell him. He doesn't have any power now, but we should let him know that the document exists and how he can reach me if he has questions. And then she said, well, what if he named me as his, power of attorney? I said, what if he doesn't even have a power of attorney? He
Mm.
probably does. Like, okay, I doubt it. But now she wants me to talk to the brother. So this having these conversations around estate planning, around financial power of attorneys and medical power of attorneys, I've asked clients, have you talked to the person you named as financial power of attorney? Do they know what that means? Do they know how to get in touch with me? How to, do they know anything about this? No. Would you be open to me having the conversation with them? Please, better you than me. Great. And the emails just come in, and what happens in the email? Hey, I need to get this done too. You're right. You sure do. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, and that's been part of the secret sauce. I feel like for you that it's not so secret sauce because you've been so generous about sharing that, and it's something where not to blow too much smoke, Johannes, but they still have to be you, and that's I mean we can show them the playbook, but that's but you've got the personality for this where you're taking these types of things and you're boiling them down, you're using those personal stories, and yeah, I love how you've been just turning this into a huge part of your business. So not really a question, I guess more of a thank you. So
Well, hey, I
yeah.
thank you, and I'll just say, just in to keep everything above board, Encore Estate Plans was not my first selection, nor was it my only. And it still isn't, because as a fiduciary, I say, no, you have choices.
Right.
And, I say, here's who I do the majority of my work with, but here are some other options that you have. And I just want to say, to blow some smoke that way as well, is that, hey, look, you all made it the most efficient process out of all the other partners that I tried. And you answered emails. It was that it really, there was a situation that happened over a year ago where I sent 3 emails to 3 different partners. And Mike Bennett was in my email so fast. I was like, oh, well, there's your
Well,
answer.
we try, and that's something where the human component is
Yes.
huge, as you know. I mean, that's they're because they're not they don't know that the documents are going to be they're hoping they're going to be great, and generally they are. But I mean, they're buying you in those types of scenarios, and that's what we try to sell our service as well. And that's it's been a great alignment there. Um,
Mm.
so I guess what was one thing that you wish you knew prior to really diving into estate planning? Or have you figured it out along the way at this point?
Um, so I wish I knew the how to help clients better implement their estate plan after it's done. Because I'll admit, the first, call it 10 or 15 that we did, it was, hey, here's your estate plan. And then it was kind of on to other financial things. And it wasn't until a few months in, I was like, well, wait a minute, we got to fund this trust. And of course, Encore has the partnership that helps you to do the house, but that's just the house. What
Mm.
about updating beneficiary documents? And now we have that pretty dialed in, where
Good.
once they have their estate plan, we say, okay, here's the next steps. And we will go and do some of the legwork for them and say, all right, well, you have these 6 insurance policies. You have a choice. Do you want it to be the trust? Do you want to keep it as a person? If you want it to be the trust, here's how to change it. You have these accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So just making sure they're taking those steps. And then the other aha was the opportunity of getting to know who the financial power of attorney is. Because if something does happen to a client, I now have to work with that POA. Or that POA decides they don't want to work with me.
Mm.
And guess what? Bye-bye assets.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, I've got a financial advisor over here. I'm going to have my financial advisor do it. I'm trying to get in there, build that relationship, just in case that financial POA gets activated. They already know. Oh yeah, I know Yohance. Yeah, he's over at Money Street. Yep. I'm gonna go to their fund, because then hopefully they say, hey, you know what? You did such a great job with mom, sister, brother, cousin, friend. Why don't you do some of my stuff too?
Yeah.
So that was something that, again, we're doing a great job of it now, but early on we were not. But once I saw that opportunity, I was like, wait a minute. What is it? Acres of Gold? No, something. One of those old books from back in the day, where the story about the guy that was mining for gold, didn't find it. I think it was in uh, Think and Grow Rich. Mining for gold,
Yeah.
mining for gold, didn't find it, and then finally gave up and left all the materials on the side of the road and
Oh,
sold them for a cheap price and went back home. And the person that bought it goes and like digs 3 feet to the left and
yep.
found one of the biggest gold
Done.
veins in
Yep.
Colorado or something, how the story goes. But yeah, that was us. We were just mining for gold, wasn't finding anything. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, we just need to turn this way. And then next thing I knew, it was estate plan after estate plan, referral after referral. On top of some of the other things that we're already doing to generate referrals, it just became that one other one. I mean, Mike, it's 1 or 2 emails a week.
Mm.
I love it.
My
Mm.
friend, my aunt, my cousin, while I was out. So and I did this video for my clients, and I said at the end, I was like, look, if you don't have your stuff in order, get it in order. Okay. I'm living proof. Sometimes these things just happen. This happened in a matter of 3 months for me. And now I'm going to be on an operating table next week. Get it in order. And the emails were coming in. Hey, my brother needs to do a estate plan. Hey, I was talking to my power of attorney, like you said, they need to do a estate plan. They've been coming in left and right just for me giving that personal story and telling clients, hey, we're here to help. That's what we're here to do.
So I'm beginning to think you made this whole health scare up to turn this thing into a marketing event for you. No, I'm just kidding.
Look, you're laughing about it. No, at the end of the day, I had to come to grips with, okay, whatever I'm
Yeah.
going through, about to go through, and then going to have to live through afterwards, because that was my first decision, is I'm going to live through this.
Right.
Now it becomes part of my story.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And if I can't use it as a part of my story to help others, then I might as well not even talk about it. Just, wear turtlenecks for the rest of my life and just don't, not talk about it. No, I plan to get an entire neck tattoo. Like, no,
Absolutely. Arrows
yeah,
pointing to the
no.
scar. Yeah.
Well, so your thyroid is shaped like a butterfly. So I am considering like a whole butterfly
Oh,
on
that
my
would be
throat.
cool.
I've got some ideas out there, but yeah, let's have
Yeah.
a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you're a financial advisor. You have neck tattoos. Yeah, just got them last year. Want to talk about it?
Yep.
Let me give you a story.
Yeah.
So,
So,
wow.
Yohance, you are just filled with amazing insight and, of course, stories. And as much as we want to hear them, we are nearly at time. We may have to do a part 2 to this, of course.
Hey,
But
I'm with it.
but before we sign off, I want to ask you, is there anything that you feel is essential for other advisors who are listening to this should know?
Get your own estate plan. Start there. Get it reviewed. Actually, if you send it to Encore and tell them I sent you, they'll review it for you. Right, Mike?
I love it. I love it.
No,
Marketing.
get your own estate plan. Yes, go to Encore. Tell them I sent you. But get your own estate plan. I did, before working with Encore, my wife and I paid an obscene amount of money to an attorney for an estate plan. And I would, when clients would come to my office, my estate plan was sitting right there on my desk or on my bookcase where clients could see it. So when I would talk about estate plan, like, yeah, I've done the hard work. I did it too. You get to do it as well. So
That's right.
Start at home, get your house in order, and then go and share that opportunity with clients so they know that you can be a resource to help them get it done too.
Amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you so much. Well, we appreciate your time, your wisdom, and just your just generosity in sharing your knowledge. So thank you so much, Yohance, for joining us today. Mike, any closing remarks from you?
Well, my wife, Sarah, wanted me to make sure to say hi to you, Yohance, and to Alicia as well. That was when we met in person, about a year and a half ago. That was for her. That was one of she's like, oh, wow. She's like, are all financial advisors like this nice and like have wives that are that amazing as well? And so it's like, that's basically what she was saying. And so I'm like, no, they don't. No, they aren't. But no, you guys, yeah, big fans in the Bennett household. So
Thank you.
no, we appreciate that.
Yeah, big fans over here at Encore of yours, Yohance. But that concludes this time's Advisor's Guide to Estate Planning podcast. Thank you all for joining in. We'll talk to you next time.